Welcome, everyone, to Tech Tuesday here on Northwest Digital News. Kevin Hunter here at the broadcast desk. Harry Brelsford coming to us out of Seattle, as usual, with SMB Nation. And we have a special guest on the broadcast today. Lisa comes to us from callthatgirl.biz. And Harry, let's start with you, and then we'll give Lisa an opportunity to introduce herself and share with our audience a little bit about what she does. So take it away.
Yeah, that sounds good. Well, Kevin, a couple of things. I'd rather talk to Lisa today than I had a backup topic, and we'll cover off another day and other ways it develops. But the Capital One security breach on AWS by apparently a former employee / contractor at Amazon in Seattle. 100 million people impacted. So Kevin, let's put that back on the shelf for another day and let that story develop. But folks, if you haven't, search on that if you haven't brought yourself up to speed. The other thing would be next week, Kevin, as you know, we recently crossed our 1-year anniversary of working together. Good for me, hopefully good for you. And I will be back at the CompTIA ChannelCon show. So I'm going to go scout some stories for next Tuesday. I think last year we had a young person that was interested in the tech industry, and so on. So I'm going to go find some good stories. That's coming to you live next Tuesday from Las Vegas. And then we'll talk about other fall shows that are lining up at that time. But Lisa is a longtime member of the community. I'm going to hand off to you in a second, Lisa, but to let you self-introduce yourself and the voodoo that you do so well. But I recently chatted with Lisa over on the SMB Nation side about that title, Call That Girl. Kevin, it was akin to when I carried the bag and the toolkit back in the 90s and so on. I was known as the computer guy. So it was very common to say, hey, computer guy, come here, I can't print. And that was a common interaction at my client sites. And Lisa, with that feeble introduction, why don't you tell us about Call That Girl, and let's introduce yourself, and Kevin and I are going to ask you a couple questions about how you serve the community.
Help desk days at my position with Honeywell is I was in the R&D department, and that was all engineers, but you know what they always used to say is, call that girl at the help desk. So it stayed, and that's how I got my business name. I was trying to think of something unique and funny, and I didn't want to be the computer girl because no one ever called me that. It was just call that girl at the help desk. So it stuck in 2013, and I've been growing my business ever since. Even though I was told it would never work, it did. And another thing is my website's a .biz, and people said that wouldn't work, and I'm successful with that as well. And I own the .com, but someone had it at the time, so I had to use the .biz.
There you go. Well, you know, it's proof that regardless of what some of the so-called commonly known wisdoms, or whatever you want to refer to them as, they don't necessarily apply. And if you got a good product and you have something that your customer both wants and needs, things can work out for you.
You're right. Yeah. And I think, when people say you have to do this, you have to do that, well, do it yourself and you can break the ideas there. I never found it to be a problem. And I started my business in 2007, pre-social media hype. I kind of considered myself an early adopter because back then, in 2007, nobody was on LinkedIn, and Facebook had only been out for a couple of years. So it wasn't real. I wasn't even on really the Facebook until 2008. But my business had been started before that. Just a short history is when I decided to go full time, I started out in Minneapolis, and I left a job. Actually, I kind of like to say I got fired from a job that I didn't like anyway. And that day I was like, what am I going to do? And I was sick of working for other people. So I said, I'm going to just start my own business. And I'd already had Call That Girl for a few years. I didn't know what I was doing. But back then, I knew I wanted to, I don't know, I was really more into the marketing part. So I knew I had to start asking other people. And I went to networking events. And like I said, there was no social media then. And I did a lot with LinkedIn at that time. I got to say that LinkedIn kicked off my business because I was very engaged in it.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I was just doing home support for people, drove around the Twin Cities area for, a couple of years. I got a little store, and this is my 13th year now, I think. Maybe my 12th year. But through all the years, I've had 3 different types of businesses, and I'm in my 3rd one right now. And right now, since 2013, I think, I've started doing just Outlook work because I found by accident the blogs I was putting out in 2009 and 10 and 11 in my WordPress were hitting in Google, and people were calling me from the internet. So I became a blogger.
Literally call that girl.
Yeah.
Literally calling him.
They started calling that girl. And I remember the first call I got when someone was like, hey, I read your blog. I think you could help me. And I was like, where do you live? Like, it never dawned on me to support people outside of Minneapolis. And they were like, oh, yeah, I read your blog. I'm in Indiana or Illinois or wherever. And then I got ticking up here. I was like, okay, why don't I start writing more blogs about Outlook stuff? And so my marketing assistant at the time, we and her just got into it. And I started getting more and more calls that in about a year or 2, that's all I've been doing is Outlook and Office 365. I support end users. I support anybody that uses Outlook, home, residential, business. I support other technicians, MSP. And I kind of like, everybody's my client at this point. I have nobody I don't support. And I don't have managed services, so I'm by the hour break fix.
I wanted to mention for the benefit of our viewers, that you can also find Lisa on YouTube. Just call that girl, punch it in the search, and you'll find the channel. I'm kind of curious how long ago that you started broadcasting on YouTube as well, because you've got a nice little following started there. I was looking at the Outlook tips and tricks that you just posted just the other day. 94 views on it already. It's not too shabby in a few days' time.
No. Well, here's what I learned about the YouTube is that in 2008 I started my channel. Didn't even know what I was doing, but my first video, I was super excited, and I was like, I'm going to do one every week, Never did.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until I found a mentor in 2013, maybe. He had a very successful channel. You guys would probably know him, but I don't want to mention him, but he's very, very popular. He happened to mentor me and gave me a lot of tips, and it excited me to get back out into doing videos.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm at like 170 some videos, but these videos are they're impactful for my marketing because clients watch them, they call me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't make a lot of money, and I don't really care about subscribers or views because this to me is a marketing channel, and it makes me more money with the clients than I'd ever make from Google or YouTube. So I'm very happy with my channel. I think if you look in the About section there, you can see I hit over 400,000 views, which is good for a channel like mine.
Absolutely.
I'm really happy. Yep. And with the YouTube, I started a podcast in 2011, and the podcast was geared toward technicians. And I have over 100 and some podcasts out now. I don't podcast as much because YouTube is where the money is.
Mm-hmm.
That's where my clients call. I don't make a lot of money from technicians learning from my podcast, frankly, so I don't do it as much.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I had to start learning where my money comes from, and it's 3 things: YouTube, LinkedIn, and Google. And I do all of it myself. I just hired an assistant this summer.
So the one thing I'd throw into the mix for anyone who's thinking about using YouTube and or podcasting for generating leads is that you're absolutely correct in that there's not money to be made per se in you teaching and training other techs how to do what you do. But for somebody who actually needs your services, by you sharing that expertise online, you've established yourself as that expert they need to call, and it gets your message out there. And so I think what some business people miss is that they don't realize there's value in that too, and the end consumer, your customer, ends up seeing that and they're going, wow, this call that girl really knows what she's talking about. This is the person I need to call.
Yeah. Well, you're performing, or you know what I've been doing? I'll tell you the trick is lately, instead of doing how-to videos with my computer screen, I will tell you that there is a those videos take a lot of work for a 2-minute video. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I've gone to speaking more, and I explain how to do it, which is fine because people know their Windows computer. They know where file and options are and things like that. And I've been able to get out more videos by just free talking and having a short script. And that's really a tip for everybody is don't panic over the editing. Don't worry about having to have things all special. People don't care anymore. They can only pay attention for a minute or two anyway. So a 10-minute how-to video is way too long for today's world.
Lisa, I have a couple questions, if you don't mind. I'm on your Facebook page.
Yeah.
And by the way, congratulations on that traffic over on YouTube. I'm both jealous and admirable, and admiring what you. Over on your Facebook page, so you have a healthy audience of just over 8,600 followers for that. Again, nice numbers. Something called a win-win is one of your entries. So what is a win-win entry on your company Facebook page, and what's it do?
Well, the win-win came from my old Honeywell days, which is where I got to call that girl at the help desk, okay? Yeah. When Honeywell used to win a contract with like a big government, division or department, they used to put out an email to the whole division saying win-win, and then the contract we won. And when I was working with my assistant this summer, I was trying to think of something that we could do consistently, and I remembered that win-win 19 years later from Honeywell. I will not forget it. So I was like, why don't I just steal that? And I put the hearts, and I tried to do so. So what I do in that message is I put out the problem that the client called me about, tell a little story, and then I leave a little space. So it leaves a little see more link, and then I tell how I fixed it. And I will tell y'all that I think it's working really good. Our views are up. It's doing better than my videos on LinkedIn. And I'm also finding that that people are relating when I'm not talking professionally. They like when I use slang words and maybe a little more abrupt, I'm just seeing the views go up. So people are like, the things with social media, you got to be yourself. So I'm doing those win-wins myself. My assistant, though, will take it and do other things with it. But I'm the one writing it, and it's how I speak. I actually would love to swear if I could, because that'd be more fun. But I take the swearing out.
And Lisa, if you could, just for my own edification, tell me about your audience demographics. So, home users, business users. Do you also talk to my community of managed services providers and channel partners? So what's your demographic?
Well, a lot of those folks on Facebook and on the YouTube and my podcast all came from me engaging with online technicians. Many years ago, I don't know if you know, Harry, but I wrote a series of ebooks, and I have 7 of them out that are all technical how-to. And those folks, when they buy the books, they get added to my funnels. But I don't use ClickFunnels, but they get added, to my newsletter, and then I tell them to follow me on YouTube. And it's a pretty crazy social media I have. But my audience on Facebook came from back in the day when Facebook, like 2007, I had a business Facebook, which was just like a regular Facebook account. Then I had a personal one. So I always had to go back and forth. And one day I had 5,000 friends on the business one, and they were like, hey, you've maxed out. Why don't you switch this to a page now?
Personal one, yeah.
Which totally ruined it. It ruined it for me. Because once you go to a page, you can't, you got to communicate with people, and it changed the whole thing. So then I actually had to change that to a fan page or public page, it's called. So a lot of those 8,000 people came from my original Facebook, so it's real people. But then I kind of got some folks from other countries started liking me, and I had to kick them out. But the LinkedIn is a mix of technicians and my old LinkedIn days from back in the day. A lot of folks don't know this, but LinkedIn used to be insanely awesome with groups. I mean, the LinkedIn groups were gold.
Oh, they were.
And then
you got the email addresses and could do a send all. Yep.
Oh, and you could take a group and procure it down to where you could have just marketed awesomely. But my group I owned in Minnesota was called Linked Minnesota. And at the end of its, the highlight of its time, I had 32 some thousand members, and I was the only owner. And it just got ruined when they took away the awesomeness of it, and nobody pays attention anymore.
Well, let's talk about that. Lisa, if you don't mind, let me interject, because we at SMB Nation, we took groups very seriously and enjoyed the fruits of that effort some time back. And I'd be hard-pressed to tell you the year and the month they changed the algorithm, but you're absolutely right that groups died, for lack of a better reason. And these were some significant groups. The Office 365 group was, I think, north of 100,000 users, and Partner Point, 15,000. And we used to have really good engaged interchange. And then they frickin' hit them. They hit them. I mean, you have to not only double click, you have to triple click to go find
There is no but here's the thing that's funny is it doesn't work anymore. You go to your LinkedIn feed, and the feed is everything, kind of like how it is on Facebook, but it is. The group is such a little tiny thing, and you go click on it, and all you see is advertising now. No, there's no interaction. It's just lost its. They should just get rid of them, frankly. And if they wanted to start over, I think they could have a second chance, because Facebook has proven the group is great. You can monetize, you can have sponsors like I used to with Linked Minnesota. I actually was an owner who cared about my group. I ran lunch and learns. I mean, this was back in the day. We had weekly meetings. I had a board of advisors practically, with my group. It was great. Mm-hmm. It's disappointing, but you got to go with the changes, There's
something I wanted to comment on. You mentioned early in your comments with regard to your content on YouTube, you said, I'd really like to be able to swear on these podcasts if I could. And kind of a funny story, a local MSP has over a number of years asked me to record various radio ads for him. And one of the ads that we did was actually this person, because he was trying to advertise people bringing their laptops in if it had various problems. And in the ad, it said, if you would prefer to give this laptop what it has coming. And then in the ad was this guy in the background smashing the laptop with a sledgehammer. Take that, and that, and that. So here's this person taking all this animosity out against their computer, and people just loved it. They would show up at the store and go, do I get to hit my laptop with a sledgehammer or take it out back and shoot it or whatever? I mean, it was... So you're right. People do love that kind of exchange, and to show that you feel a little frustration as it results or as it connects to technology. Viewers actually
Kevin,
really do relate to that.
I do swear in my YouTube. Just to let you know. Okay. You might get a little swear here and there. I don't have a potty mouth, but sometimes if there's the right swear word, it comes out naturally, and I just leave it. And I do on my podcast as well, but it's not too much. It's just, when it needs to be. I try to avoid it on social media though, because that, I don't know. It's a judgment thing. Otherwise I would.
Gotcha.
I swear a lot.
I have sort of a global observation. So you both have made at different points. Minneapolis is at least a train stop in life. You both have capitalized on YouTube to build your respective personalities and your businesses. So, I'm excited about today, and because you guys have more tech consultant world, but you've been able to not only have your community of technicians, but also build a community of consumers and businesses. So, and you resemble that too.
Yes. Yes.
Well, yeah, that's how I started, though. I didn't know the technicians till after 3 years after I'd already done my own. So the thing is, I think I knew how to do community, engagement already. So when I found the technicians, I was kind of like, oh, wait, here's a bunch of techs that don't know social media. So, but the thing is, the point of engagement marketing, that's what I call it, is you have to give to get. You have to engage, which means you got to answer free questions. You got to be available. You got to watch the forum. Back in the day, these were called forums, not Facebook, but you got to watch for people. And it's just so it doesn't appear like you're pitching and marketing to them, but you really are by being helpful. Mm-hmm. So you're putting in your time, and that's where one of these forums, I have almost 6,000, comments and posts, which is a lot. Mm-hmm. And that was all for free. I didn't get paid for it, but then I sold a lot of books from it. A lot.
Well, let's talk about that. I'm up on Amazon on screen number 2, and yes, if people search on Amazon your first last name, and I just use the word call, your books come up. They're in the $10 and $20 and so
they're
folks
free now, Barry.
What's that?
Well, I'm just saying.
Go ahead.
Well, last year I decided that marketing these books, because they were getting old, wasn't a value add. And so I decided to put them all up for free and use them as a marketing vessel. So that to me was a bigger win, because the books were $5 and $10. I was like, why am I trying to market something that's a waste of my time? Mm-hmm. So now if you guys want to see, that is super old, and I don't even know.
The books I did back in the day, Windows Server, Small Business Server, and I fancy myself a CNN analyst wannabe with the bookshelf behind me. Kevin, shout out to Kevin for helping me build my office out. But here, bottom line is the books at best were bread and butter. But the books were my calling card to build my community and get me in some very interesting engagements and even investment opportunities. So at SMB, they've taken on some investments where we did the work for some startups and got stock options instead of cash payment. And I consider that an investment round, because I was implicitly investing my time and payroll to execute. Hey, Lisa, maybe for this visit, because Kevin, I think we need to get Lisa back periodically. She's got stories to tell. But at least on my side, maybe the final question is, which the viewers wouldn't necessarily know, but you're starting a master's degree next month back in Minneapolis. And I love life learners and reinventing yourself. What is the story?
Well, I turned 50 this year. And last winter, I think I had my midlife crisis. I didn't go buy a Porsche or anything crazy, but I really was thinking about my business and what I was doing. And I wasn't happy with some parts of my business, which parts of it is the technology I'm struggling with. Outlook and Windows is just getting to be like, maybe I don't want to be a technician. What do I want to do when I'm 55? Do I really want to be fixing an iCloud plugin? No. So I thought, why don't I go back to school, go back home, buy a little house, and go back to school and take the MBA program and see what I could learn from the books, which I know open to being bought out.
There you go.
I'm open to a lot of stuff. I mean, if there's an MSP out there that wants my knowledge, I'm for sale. You can buy the entire company. But,
well, it's proof positive, and we'll leave it there, but it's proof positive that everybody exits their business at some point. Some do it voluntarily. Some do it via bankruptcy. Some do it via feet first. There's all kinds of different ways, but you will exit your business at some time. And so having some other options is always a really, really great thing. So good for you.
Well, I had to think about it. Like, what do I want to do when I'm older? I still got 20, 25 years of work. I'm not going to retire at 70. I already know that. My brain loves working.
There you go. Well, maybe when you're 70, you'll be on with Harry and I again, because we'll probably still be cracking away at this too. So,
who knows?
All right.
All right.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us here on Tech Tuesday. Our special guest, Lisa, you can get her at callthatgirl.biz, or you can email to info@callthatgirl.biz. We'll include it on the live stream here as well. And if you want to give her a call, 612-865-4475. Again, 612-865-4475. Thanks, Lisa, for joining us. And Harry Brelsford, good luck to your trip to CompTIA. We'll be talking to you next week. Kevin Hunter here with Harry Brelsford on Tech Tuesdays. Take care, everyone. Thanks for